Welcome to the Shiro Space Podcast. It may be a man's world, but it sits on a woman's earth. The philosophical and spiritual lives of Black women are often overlooked for the care and responsibilities that we take over others, career and ambitions, and whatever else can cloud our view and take our energy off ourselves. The Shiro Space Podcast is a place for Black women to connect and share their points of views, learnings, spirituality, and philosophy. A Shiro is a woman committed to expanding authentically in her sovereign expression. Join me for conversations with sisters and our allies to help unleash in you, me, and we, the Shiro within. Welcome everyone. It is Chikava. I am excited to be back with another conversation with a sister, Shiro. Today I am going to talk with Rashunda Tramble. She is a reader and a writer. I noticed her in my YouTube sojourns. She does beautiful tarot readings, and she has written a gorgeous book on tarot with the Numinous. I believe it's a collective, but we'll get the full scoop from her shortly on the meanings and her perspective of it. So I thought this was rich territory to speak with her about her path, her journey, what excites her, and yes, let's go. So without further ado, I am excited to zoom in Rashunda.
Hi there. Hi.
Hi, welcome, Rashunda. How are you doing today?
Hi, I am fine, Chikava. Thanks so much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you. And we are coming together from across the globe. You are in Switzerland.
Yeah, I am in Switzerland. I'm in the southern part of Switzerland, which is actually the Italian section.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
My brain immediately then went to how's the food? But
It's good. It's good. It's good.
tell me about like the how'd you get to Switzerland? Where did you start? And what's going on? How'd you make it all the way over there?
Uh, well, I mean, I was previously married to a Swiss, and we were married in the States, and then I came over here. We moved here. Unfortunately, we divorced, but I decided to just stay here and make a life for myself. So that's basically how I got here, and I've been here since 2001, as a matter of fact.
Amazing. And where were
Mhm.
you from originally?
I am originally from Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised there. So yeah, I'm from there, and then I lived for a while in North Carolina in the Triad area, the Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point area.
Amazing. Now, didn't our beloved goddess Tina Turner make the sojourn from Tennessee to Switzerland as well?
Yeah. She was from Nutbush, Tennessee, which is actually right outside of Brownsville, Tennessee. It's north of Memphis, and then she moved here. She moved here to Switzerland. Yeah.
I love that. What a dynamic woman to be in simpatico with.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, tell me about your background. What was it like? I imagine growing up in Tennessee, you might have been on the trek with little Christianity, a little Baptist church. How did how were your roots, and how did you start hearing your soul and your spirit?
Um, to be yeah, I mean, I personally I had the traditional Southern Baptist upbringing courtesy of my mom, but my dad was Methodist. And so there was this mom was very spirited and very vocal and very, in the spirit and all that. And then, I had my dad who was in the Methodist church and was completely different. So I had that, but also I must say that my upbringing in terms of religion and spirituality was sort of mixed, because I also have family members who were Muslim, and I also have family members who are Buddhist.
Mm-hmm.
So it was sort of I mean, in our particular household, we were quote unquote Christian, but I had cousins, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever. So it was sort of mixed.
So yeah, you had
Yeah,
exposure to different concepts.
I had exposure to different concepts. I even have relatives who were Jehovah's Witnesses. I went to a Catholic high school, so it was sort of a mixture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my background. But in our house, my mom was pretty. Let's just say her spirituality was pretty dominant. Let's just say that.
Yes, as
Mhm,
as tends to
mhm,
run.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
how
yeah,
did you
yeah.
find your own and your own path, and what has that been and become for you?
I think for me, I've always had an interest in um different spiritual paths. I've always had an interest in the occult, or just different paths. I would hear things in church or even in school and think, okay, really, let me go investigate that myself. I was the type
Mm,
of kid, if we had to read something from the King James Bible, I would say, okay, who was King James?
right.
How did his name get on his Bible? And I was always curious, and I always questioned. And I
Mm,
think that's what you could say, put the stone, the groundwork, laid the groundwork for my path to build my own spiritual mindset, the own to have my own frame.
mm-hmm.
And so that's really how that happened.
I love that. I'm playing with our view. I'm going.
Okay.
I want to have a moment where I get to just see you. If all technology would be in agreement. There, I got it.
Okay.
Um, so where do you suss out now? How long have you been studying tarot? When did that enter your life?
Oh, actually about maybe 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while. Yeah, like I said, I've always had an interest in the occult. I've always been interested in different forms of divination, but I didn't take them too seriously. I was just
Okay.
like, oh, this is cute. Okay, this is what people do. And it wasn't until I was a reporter for a TV station in North Carolina, and I was assigned a story that had to do with different spiritual practices. And one of the persons I had to interview would not let me interview her until she did a reading with me, and she was a tarot reader.
Wow.
And I did the reading with her, and it was like, okay, this is interesting, and it went from there. And so that's basically the short story about how I started with tarot.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
how is it grown? How does it feed? How does it intersect? Do you have a particular spiritual point of view that you work from? Do you call yourself a Buddhist or any particular tradition? What's your spiritual path now? How does tarot weave into it with you?
I mean, my spiritual path is sort of a mixture, but primarily I'm Buddhist.
Okay.
That's the spiritual path. But um in terms of how tarot weaves into it, it just does. I didn't have to make an effort to make it fit into my life. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why it's really difficult when people ask me, how do you fit tarot into your life? I don't fit it, it just is.
Right. It's a
And that's
seamless
why
coming
it's really,
together.
yeah, it's really, I don't have a mechanism or a way to do it. It just happened. And I think that's the beauty of tarot. Tarot can it can weave through different spiritualities. Even if you are an atheist, you can read tarot. The Rider Waite Smith version of tarot has a very strong Judeo-Christian
Lens.
um lens and in imagery.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. It weaves through so many things, and I don't think it is, at least now, I don't see it as something that is attached to a particular religion, or a particular type of spirituality.
Right. It's become
Mm-hmm.
a an objective tool that we can all use, which actually harkens me back. I started studying tarot when I was 18 and I got my
Mm-hmm.
first reading. I'm from Boulder, Colorado, so
Wow. Okay.
it's
Cool.
perfect invitation to be woo woo, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the reader's name was Michael, and it was such a wonderful time. There were lots of mountain houses, so I drove up to the mountains for my first astrological and tarot reading, and that one reading really, if I only got one reading in life, it should have been that one. And what he told me my task to do was to use these tools so that I could move through life with an ever increasing objectivity. And he gave an analogy which you'll appreciate. He said, you want to grow to the point where if you were a reporter and you were reporting on a car accident, you could do it clear and direct, even if it was your father who was in the accident.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that has been, it's interesting because it's nice. I'm lucky in that I had that ideal set at the top of my journey, and then all of our emotions and our desires, like all of life, comes crashing in on these spiritual tenets that we learn, and we have to keep rising back up to that ideal, to that objectivity, refinding it again. um,
Mm-hmm.
I really I appreciate that in him. How was that first tarot card reading that you had to do a gimme for to get that interview?
Hmm. You know, I will be honest with you. I don't remember the actual specifics, but what I do remember, I mean, I remember like the overall vibe of the reading and the message, which I won't get into. But what impressed me was how there were different life points that she connected to the cards,
Mm-hmm.
that made sense. Like, this is what's going on, this is what's going on, this is what may happen for you. And I found that really interesting, and I wanted to learn more.
Hmm.
And that's really how, how it happened. I said, how can the, tarot is wonderful if you're a storyteller, and reporters are storytellers. And I saw these 78 cards as a way to tell a story, and it tells a story of your life, and it links sections of your life or how you embody particular archetypes to this system. And that's what I found really interesting.
Amazing. So I want to switch over to Buddhism. Are you Nichiren Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist? What lineage are you a part of?
Actually, I'm sort of split. Most of the people in my family who are Buddhist are members of Soka Gakkai.
Mm-hmm.
So Nichiren Buddhism, we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So that's one aspect. I have my Gohanzon right, to the right of me. So I have everything set up, my Gohanzon and all of that. But also I attend a Plum Village Sangha with Thich Nhat Hanh. Well, not with Thich Nhat Hanh, but in the Thich Nhat Hanh tradition. So I have like my personal Buddhism, which is Soka Gakkai, but
Mm-hmm.
also with, my immediate family here. And what we do, we go to a Sangha once a week. We practice mindfulness. We mindfulness in the Plum Village tradition. And
Will
that's
you
what we do.
share
So
what
I'm
that
sort of,
tradition of mindfulness is? Will you, will
well, it's
you,
just,
cause everybody, so you are bringing us you're bringing sisters to a whole new world. A lot of Black women haven't explored Buddhism. So
mhm.
will you break down Nichiren Buddhism for us and the traditions that you speak of?
Okay. I'm not sure if I'm the right person to break down
Oh, girl,
Nichiren.
your
No, I'm
perspective is uh, what?
not sure, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I know. I mean, in terms of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, that's the key to, you could say, this universal force, this the universal law.
Mm-hmm.
And it is how, at least according to how I see it, you work on your karma, you heal your karma. And when we talk about karma, we're not talking about good or bad. It's more about cause and effect. And that's how that's what I think of as chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So that's that aspect of, Nichiren Buddhism.
What does Nam-myoho Renge Kyo mean?
Now you're putting me on the spot. It is
For
it's
you.
the universal law.
Mm-hmm.
For me. It's the universal law. Actually, it's pulled, I believe, from the Lotus Sutra. Now, someone is probably going to correct me on that. But it's boiled down. It's like that whole concept of the universal law boiled down into this one phrase, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo.
Mm-hmm.
And that sound, even the sound, the phrase, all of that, chanting that is what helps you balance out your karma and work out your karma. And I don't like saying heal your karma, so let's just say it balances it out.
I so appreciate you saying I don't like to say heal. I've been playing with the concept with myself over the past week that healed is the new salvation. And
okay.
And just like the salvation that has been indoctrinated to us with Christianity, with the desert religions, there's no such thing. Because like I love this new open time of spirituality and exploration for everybody, but we're still in the tailwinds of indoctrination. So much of what we're building is put on that. So now it's like, I'm healed.
Right.
And
I don't like that. I don't
healthier. We like, I am not liking it because it puts you up to another, well, you're healed on Monday, but then something goes totally on Thursday and you're not healed anymore. So now you're not saved. Now you're not good enough again.
Yeah.
And that spiral. So I so appreciate you saying that. I've been working with myself in the languages like I'm going to work with this from a healthy place. I'm healthifying. How is it for you? What kind of speak do you have for it?
What, for the word healing, or what, a replacement for it?
Yeah.
I just say, I'm just doing it, whatever it is, but I never say I am healed, because that's too much of a period. Like, I am healed. It's like boom, and then okay, where do you go from that?
Right. There are no periods.
I never, I just don't like that. So I just say I am doing it, whatever this is. I'm also, the other thing is healing, healed, even, when people say the work, capital T, capital W, it has become so Instagram-fied, with these memes and all of that, and doing the work. I just don't, I don't like using those anymore, because now they're just sort of
products.
They're filler words now. Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly that, I think, is endemic of being in a consumerist society, right? Where this concept of healing, like, it's beautiful. Even let's just, for sake of conversation, track it back to Louise L. Hay and her affirmations and that beautiful thing that she has brought out into the world. And then we zoom forward to 2024 and everybody can heal you because they read a book. Or
right.
Still that thing. Because we live in a capitalist society, there's always the capitalism is causing a new intercessory to God, where the Pope was, the guru is, the retreat is, the you know what I'm saying?
I mean, first, I'm not an economist, but I think, using the term capitalist, capitalism itself, like the academic term, it's like private ownership of something. And so I don't have issues with that. I mean, we have a lot of, women, Black women who own their own businesses. It's a private enterprise. That's capitalism. It's just when it gets out of hand. And that's what you're talking about here. And I think it's, it's more about, it's the power grab that's part of capitalism and how you use that power. Sometimes people can use their quote unquote power that they have gained in positive ways. The power that they've gained through capitalism or owning something, they can use it in positive ways, like, providing scholarships or something like that. But then you have the people that you're talking about, that we have encountered where they sort of insert themselves almost as a block, like you have to go through me to get to your healing, or you can only heal by doing what I do. And that's where it gets icky. That's where I'm just like, don't know if I want to be associated with that.
Right. And how we help people get out of that mode.
Exactly.
Because I like to concept on feminine sovereignty. What we need to be sovereign beings in into ourselves. You know what I mean?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, you explain to me what feminine sovereignty is. I'm not clear. Okay.
So feminine sovereignty is a woman who is self-determined. It's an inner self-determination. And it starts from even a feminine perspective for me, because I like to say it's a man's world, but it sits on a woman's earth. So sovereignty, just in and of itself, to be of your own mind, to shape your destiny, your path, your soul's calling with your ori, your shin, whatever your word for your higher self is, to be self-referential in that connection to what created us. I use the word Tao. Some people use God. Some people, whatever your word is, that sovereignty between spirit, soul, and person. And we live in a time, in a absolutely fascinating matrix maze where we get to keep refinding our way back to that in a whole bunch of distractions, be it my threes are religion, government, and money, the things that shape the mazes of our world. So how do we become increasingly sovereign beings in that? That's what I mean.
Okay. I mean, I think probably what it is that I've never labeled it feminine sovereignty. For me, that's just common sense. That's just life. When you say, feminine sovereignty, it's like what you're saying makes sense. And I just say it's a common sense way to live. And I think that's what we are all trying to get to live in that fashion. But we do have this world that doesn't really accept that, when you decide to live in that fashion. And we work within, we do what we can. And I think that's what it is, having your own mind, moving in your own way, and just being yourself and being true to who you are.
True. So what you mentioned going to the community center. So how does community interplay in your life, and what has it been like to build for decades in a new land, a community?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Yes, we have a sangha that we go to. And we go there, we meet one night a week, and then we come back home. But there's a different concept of community in Switzerland than probably there is in the States. And, there's community up to a point, and you're allowed to have your privacy, which I actually appreciate, because I'm an introvert. And so it's like community everyone for the most part, are trying to live in the same fashion. And then you go back home or to work, and you do that. And then you come back and you exchange, um, um, you say what's going on, and you get support from others, and then you go out and you go to work or do whatever. And I sort of, I, it works that way for me. It works.
Mm-hmm. And what
Mm-hmm.
is a sangha?
A sangha, it's just another word for a group of people who are meeting together and sharing their experiences as Buddhists. And this is in the Plum Village tradition. It's in the Plum Village tradition is actually it's Zen Buddhism,
Okay.
but it's a Vietnamese version of Zen Buddhism, as laid out by Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a Zen Buddhist monk. He was basically known for his stance in the Vietnam War
Mm-hmm.
for refusing to, be on the side of the government or anyone, and was just saying, I am for peace. And he was exiled from Vietnam, and he traveled all over the world preaching the gospel of peace, I guess you could say, and also mindfulness, being aware of what you're doing, being aware of your feelings. Um, yeah, yeah. And so that's basically what a sangha is. And it's not just Zen Buddhism. There are other forms of Buddhism, I believe, who use the term sangha, but it's just a meeting. It's a meeting. It's a group of people, and we get together once a week, and we are a community. We get together physically once a week, but we're a community. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I asked what do you think are misconceptions that people have about spirituality, and how do you challenge that? How is that?
Um, I'm too old to challenge anymore. I'm tired. I just don't. I mean, I did that when I was 20, 30, even when I was 40, I did it. Now I just live my life.
Mm,
I think some of the misconceptions, I mean, there are misconceptions out there. And, I tried to say, hey, maybe it's not like what it is, but in terms of actively challenging, life's too short. But
mm,
some of the things that have happened, I guess you could say, I mean, one misconception is that um, there is only one particular way to be a Black woman in the spiritual realm.
mm.
And, you know, and it has come from, I'm loath to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It probably comes from well-meaning white liberals, and which, there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes I have been encountered by some who automatically think that, I practice ATR, like an African traditional religion, or they automatically think that, I'm actively practicing hoodoo or voodoo or something like that because I'm a Black American from the South.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's one thing where I think that's one misconception that some people may have, because, okay, you're Black, you're from the South, you practice hoodoo. And it's like, I mean, my family members probably did. I don't know, because that's the other thing. Maybe it's an age thing because I'm probably older than some of the, a lot of wonderful young folks coming up, especially on social media, who practice hoodoo. But, they will say, I come from a long line of hoodoo, root workers. But the thing is, at least when I was growing up, you didn't say that. You didn't call people that. You didn't, even if they did if they did root working or whatever, it wasn't something that you blabbed out loud about.
Right.
And so that's why sometimes when people say I come from a long line, it's like, well, how do you know that? Did they openly say it? Or, and that's the only thing. That's why when people say that to me, oh, you come from this line, I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I saw my
Mm-hmm.
mom do things. I saw my Medea do things, but I don't know if I have the right to say I come from this long line, because that's, you really have to be sure that you have the right to say that when you take on that mantle, because you are you are you are taking, you are saying I am a practitioner of this,
Right.
of this type of spirituality. You are saying that, and you are presenting yourself like that to the world. I don't have that type of confidence. I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing. So when people come to me and they make that assumption, I will say, I do my own thing. So that's one thing. Yeah.
There
Go
definitely
ahead.
is a lot more sizzle before the steak
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
these
Mm-hmm.
days with folks, and I sometimes I get frustrated with that too. But I also like to think again in that trajectory that we're moving on to this overall, like things are much more sovereign and open than they were when it 20, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's just a lot of awkward stages to the collective spiritual growth that we bear
Mm-hmm.
along with. And sometimes, you're the one being awkward, and sometimes you're the person that is like, ooh, God, I can't wait till we grow out of this part, you
Yeah.
know?
But that's why the one of my favorite sentences that I will say is, I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. Are you doing the right way, Rash, or whatever? It's like, you know what? I don't know. I'm just doing what works for me. I have anyone who has come to me, and also I'm a, professional tarot reader. Anyone who comes to me, they know that when I don't know something, or when I can't see something in the cards, I will say, you know what? I just don't know. I don't see that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's also, I think a lot of us, we need to become comfortable with saying that too.
With the
I don't
unknown.
know.
Yeah. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
love that. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also the in I practice Taoism, or I am a
Mm-hmm.
Taoist, and so dealing with that yin and that yang in the 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 black unknowable space.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
so much to getting real comfortable in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the things
Mm-hmm.
that pop up, and this is a place I'm in right now with what's popping up in my shadow, kind of talking to me like, that crazy crap you've been doing, like you've been doing it. Well, here's why. Like letting the the darkness, like really respecting the simple physiology that when you close your eyes, you see blackness.
Mm-hmm.
And that space between your closed eyes and the in your ears is for sure the only thing you control in this world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what are you going to put in that cinema? Simplifying it kind of down to there. Like once once you get that arena on poppin', juicy, peaceful, whatever it needs to be, the open-eyed arena, it you can proceed.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I've been
Mm-hmm.
seeing life
Mm-hmm.
lately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's how, I mean, I completely agree. It's like that space that we need to learn. I don't like saying we need to, but I
You
I can
invite
only
people
speak.
to learn.
You invite people to learn, or I'm gonna just speak for myself. I am still learning how to become comfortable with that
Mm-hmm.
discomfort of not knowing. Um, because a lot of us, knowing things has protected us. Knowing situations, being able to suss out a situation has protected us, literally. So to say, be comfortable with the unknown, if you have this switch where, you get triggered by things, the unknown is scary.
Yes, because the unknown is what's flipping that switch.
Exactly.
And once you
Exactly.
get to that, whoo, that's that like, oh, like touching that zizing point
Mm-hmm.
and letting it move through you, like really
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, did you read this book, Existential Kink?
No, no, no.
Terrific, terrific concept on the things in your life that you hate that you do, that you hate that keep showing up. They're causing you, like, somebody up in there, somebody in the shadow, somebody in the yin is totally into it. And if you can just make space for that part of you, like, just don't reject that part. Like, just be like, I'm totally, this crap that I've been doing. There's part of me that is just that greasy ass gal that loves to do that, and I totally, and she is welcome here. Like, it's a new, the name has very, provocative pop culture, but it is a terrific way to say, integrate, take the whole you, take the whole you, love the whole you, make room for all of you. I've been appreciating that as of late. What are
Mm-hmm.
some of your favorite books?
Jeez, Louise. I mean, as of right now, I am rotating between rereading George Orwell's 1984.
Great time for that.
I know, yeah. I just said, let me go ahead and just, do a refresher on this. Um, I am also reading Psychomagic, the manual Psychomagic by Alejandro Jodorowsky. That's one that I, sort of go back and forth with. So I'm reading that. What's another one? I flip through books. Let me see what's up here. I cycle through them. There's another book that I'm reading by a gentleman named Marco Visconti, which is called the Aleister Crowley Manual, which is not about Aleister Crowley that much. It's more about Thelema and the concepts of Thelema.
What is
So yeah,
Thelema?
I'm
What is
Thelema.
Thelema?
No, Thelema is
Thelema.
it's a spiritual practice that Aleister Crowley, who was this, he did the Thoth Tarot
Mm-hmm.
with Lady Frida Harris, and the Lema, from what I understand, because again, I'm reading the book, it's just another spiritual system, and people talk about the great work, and the great work of that is learning what you are supposed to be doing on this earth, and it's a whole system and a system, a way of working with particular gods and goddesses and all of this. It's a derivative of like the it came out of Golden Dawn, the Order
Right.
of the Golden Dawn, and all of that. So that's what it is. And there are a lot of rituals and things that are, kind of Golden Dawn ish. But again, I'm still reading that book, so I can't explain everything to you. But that's
Oh,
one of
sure.
the other books that I am reading. What else am I reading? I
What is
am reading.
psychomagic about?
It's Alejandro Jodorowsky is he's there's some questionable aspects to him, and there are some slightly problematic things, but psychomagic, what he talks about is it's like a spiritual psychotherapy.
Mm.
And for example, he's a filmmaker, but also he's a tarot reader and an artist, and he will do like he uses tarot to not to predict, but to help people answer why they do these things. And that's actually how I read tarot, how I read for
Mm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
And he will give people like he'll have them go out and do something weird, like I don't know, go crawl on the ground, or wear black, or embody the spirit of your mother and pretend to be your mother for a day. And it's more of getting your subconscious to do something, because you can't directly control your subconscious. You can't directly control the subliminal. But if you do these particular acts, that
Mm-hmm.
may help you come to terms with things, or to quote unquote overcome particular aspects or behaviors that you have that you may want to work on. So that's what psychomagic is
I
about.
appreciate that. So that's kind of it's very parallel to existential kink, like using
Yeah,
what you've been rejecting or not aware of and integrating it.
yeah. integrating it. And but that's also getting back into the Plum Village tradition with Thich Nhat Hanh, of this like there may be aspects of yourself that you don't quote unquote like. And normally we say, oh, I don't want to face it, I don't want to deal with it, you push it away, or you push away that fear. Well, Thich Nhat Hanh says, you know, smile at that fear, try to understand that fear or that habit or that thing. Maybe it's asking for your attention. Maybe it needs to have, you two need to have a conversation, and you go from there. But it's more about um, facing it,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at it for what it is, and working with it from there. I don't like using the word confront, because it's so, that's kind of like
It's
violence, like you have to
combative.
confront
Yeah.
something, and it's like, no, it's combative. So it's more like facing it, acknowledging it, and asking, okay, what's going on, you know, where is this coming from? And that's that's actually how I live my life. That's how I read tarot for myself, and that's how I read for other people. And I use the cards and the archetypes of the cards to sort of bring out the parts of those conversations. Um, think about when you, if you were in school, if you had to diagram a sentence, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that type of thing. So we use tarot to diagram situations. You know, what's the verb? Which card is the verb? Which card is the noun? You know, which one is the adjective? And that's how I work with tarot.
I
So it
love
all
that.
sort of blends together.
I love that. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
is terrific as a that very Jungian. Basically, we're rocking a little Jungian life here in terms of bringing our whole self to the floor. For so psychoanalytic words, we're being a
Mm-hmm.
little Jungian, but I think that this integrative reality is very much a part of all indigenous cultures. Indigenous meaning things that are most natural to humans, and it's kind of like in the last epic of civilizations, we've
Mm-hmm.
unpersoned, and now we're like, wait, what a person, if we say we've unpersoned, like moved away from being souls, integrated soul beings, and we're in this phase where we're moving back into an integrated person of it's not this kind of Catholic right, wrong, sinner, saint. Like it's not the contrast, it's the whole and the integration and the necessity and the glory and the beauty and the bounty of experiencing all the aspects of ourselves, and respecting, there, sometimes you gotta like seven of swords on somebody and like roll out, protect yourself, but those two of cup moments are just absolutely splendid. And we all like, that's what one of the things I love about it. Once you, as I've grown with it, with tarot, I am so sorry that really happened. That truly happened.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was up. Um, as you grow with it, like at first it was very, when I was a kid, it was very dramatic what card came out, what it meant, because I was very much in a I was in polarity with myself. Like either my love relationship was gonna work out, or everything was just gonna be all fucked up. There was no in between. There was no value in the nuances of what those extremes had to offer. And, fast forward, oh my goodness, soon I'll be able to say 30 years on the, I like when a 10 of sword shows up, it's like, you know what? Yeah, I am going to go lay down. This is done. Like I feel a lot less need to reject whatever imagery is is being shared through the cards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I feel the same way. I normally I will say this. When I am reading for myself, yes, sometimes I do reject imagery, but then I ask myself why. Okay, what's going on that you don't like this card? This is why I think it's very important to journal. I am a
Mm.
constant journaler. When I do readings for myself, I write things down. No matter what comes up, I think that's very important. Um, I also think that connecting tarot to your life, like let me backtrack a little bit. I do believe it is very important to have the spiritual aspect and live in a spiritual way, but sometimes we're just trying to put one foot in front of the other, and we don't even have room to have a discussion about spirituality or anything like that. And I sort of link tarot that way too. I use tarot in that way. Like, how do I make it through this day? I do not feel like going to the office. What is going on with me? Let's see what's going on with the cards. Sometimes I get up and just do body, mind, spirit. What the hell is going on with me today? And and that's what I mean when I say I link tarot to like day to day. Even in my book, let me go ahead and just hawk that, the Numinous Tarot Guide, a new way to read the cards. In the book, I take each card and, I explain what the card is, but then I link each card to a modern day story. So, I've had people write to me and say, "Oh my gosh, this happened to me." Um, you know the high priestess, I realized I needed to just let some, not say anything and everything to everyone about what I'm doing, and let
Mm.
some mystery come into my life. Let me keep my mouth shut. That's a high priestess thing. With the We talked about the Seven of Swords, and I talked about this on YouTube. Maybe with the Seven of Swords, keeping with the theme of being quiet, sometimes you do need some cloak and dagger action to get out of a particular situation. Don't tell everybody what you're doing. Work
Yeah.
your magic, if you want to call it that. Do it in silence. The Fool. I talk about the Fool and how sometimes it's good to not know everything. And this is what
Mm.
I was talking about with saying I don't know. And with I don't know being one of the most beautiful sentences that you can utter. I have a story in the book where this person is, the responsible roommate,
Mm-hmm.
the responsible person who always does this for the roommates, always cleans up for their roommates. And, one day they come home and people are like, "Hey, what are we having for dinner?" And the person says, "You know what? I don't know." And they're happy about it. And that's I connect the Fool that way. So on the one hand, yes, we can be, at this high level, this high spiritual level, but sometimes that can be overwhelming for people. And I don't want folks to think, okay, the only way I can use tarot is to do the spiritual, I'm ready to do this big spiritual um 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 unearthing of everything, and that's the only way I can use tarot. No, you don't have to use it only that way. You can use it for day to day. If you're having issues at work, you're having issues in the office, you're having issues at home, you can use it that way too.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah,
Integration is the theme of our conversation.
yeah. It is. It is.
So
Because I
tell
think
me a
sometimes
little bit more about the Numinous Tarot. It came out a year or so ago, and
it came
where
out
we
in
can find it.
2021.
Mm-hmm.
It came out in
3 years ago.
2021. It's the Numinous Tarot Guide, a new way to read the cards. And I need to make that to say that because there is a deck called the Numinous Tarot.
Okay.
That's not us. That's not me. But the Numinous Tarot Guide, a new way to read the cards. It's the brand. The Numerous is actually another writer, Ruby Warrington,
Mm-hmm.
and we did this book together. And it is just a simple way to use tarot in different aspects of your life, of your daily life. It brings it down to like a normal how do I pay my bills? I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, that type of thing. When you pull the Two of Pentacles, do you need to take a look at your work-life balance? Is there such a thing as work-life balance? Or is that something that corporate has, pushed into your head to make you think there's a way to do that balancing instead of saying, hey, there's something wrong here in my office, I
That they
shouldn't
want
even
to
have
suck
to do
me
this
in.
balancing, that type of thing. So that's what the book itself is about. It is it's an easy read. I've got it here.
It's
It's
beautiful.
small. You can take it with you. But yeah, we like to say these are 78 modern day parables. We also have journal prompts. So this is something that you can use for your entire life or anything that you are going through. So
Beautiful.
highly recommend it.
Would you like to share a little reading from there, a little excerpt?
Um, let's see. I just opened up to, I'll do the Hierophant. Okay.
Ooh, I'm a
Because this would, yeah.
Taurus, so I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
Okay. Yeah. Because the Hierophant normally, it is about, it's layers. The Hierophant can be about keeping the quote unquote status quo, but it can also be about teaching, learning, handing down family traditions. So what we have here for the Hierophant, I'll read the story. So, the Hierophant from the Numinous Tarot Guide, a new way to read the cards. Your grandmother was interesting, armed with a sharp wardrobe and a tongue to match. Medea, short for a mother deer, was the most beautiful thing to ever come out of Coahoma County, Mississippi, and was almost never seen in public without her red lipstick. It didn't matter if she was going to the grocery store, the gas station, or down the driveway to the mailbox. Medea always made sure her makeup was on point. She handed this tradition down to your mother and sister, but you couldn't be bothered with the hassle of it all until you turned 48. Perhaps it was because your mother had just passed, or perhaps you were just homesick, but for some reason you started wearing red lipstick. And not just for nights out in the town. You'd sometimes apply your lippy just to go shopping. Of all the traditions from your family and culture, Medea's red lipstick is the one that you treasure the most. And
Hmm.
that's the Hierophant. And that's what I mean by in the book we link these cards like tightly to just normal everyday life. There's nothing wrong with the high spiritual, but you can you can link them to just normal situations as well. So that's one story from the book. And this is actually from my life. I mean, this is true.
I love that story. And I
Yeah.
saw it as you were reading it, very much so. And again, it points to that integration that we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be reaching up to the nethers and the unknown to there's no high to chase. There's no experience to chase. There's
Right.
just a life to live. And that indeed is our
Mm-hmm.
spiritual journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is one of the I don't want I am making my peace with social media, but sometimes you have folks in social media, and when they talk or discuss spirituality, it's so like up here. It's all the way up here. And the thing is, if you're going through the shit, if you're depressed, if you think you can't get up there just yet. You don't have
Mm.
the energy. It takes so much energy to talk about this is high vibe and this, or even get up there. You're like, look, I don't have time for that. And that's why I think this book, I mean, yeah, and that's why I think the book is really important. So, yeah, yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I've so
You're
enjoyed
welcome.
visiting with you, and I hope that we can visit some more in the future.
You're so welcome. You're welcome. I hope that worked out for you.
It's a
Yeah,
terrific new
yeah.
journey, and I just learned my way.